A good Erev Shabbos, Parshas B'haaloscha. I like to start off with a story. It's a story that we heard from my father-in-law Zatzal, הארון Soloveichik. He heard it at his bar mitzvah from his father, Rav Moshe Soloveichik, who in turn heard it at his bar mitzvah. It was told over by the Nitziv Volozhiner. So if we're talking about Rav Moshe Soloveichik, who was born in 1879, and the Nitziv, who was his great-grandfather, by the way, who was Nifter in 1893, we're talking about shortly before the Nitziv was Nifter, that he told over the story at his great-grandson's bar mitzvah, Rav Moshe. He heard it from Rav Rebbitzen Volozhiner, and the story actually happened. He was firsthand there. The story goes like this. Rav Chaim Volozhiner once spoke on Parshas B'haaloscha, Shabbos Parshas B'haaloscha at Shalosh. He spoke about the pasuk ויהי בנסע הארון. ויהי בנסע הארון. The Aron, the armbrist Shem, the Torah, has a journey. Until the coming of Mashiach, he said the Torah must traverse the entire world. From the Lishkas Hagazis, it was Goleh to different places in Yerushalayim, and from there, by the Churban to Yavna and other cities in Eretz Yisrael, and from Eretz Yisrael it was Goleh to Bavel. From Bavel it went to Spain, North Africa, and France, and from France, which is Western Europe, France and Germany, went to Eastern Europe, Poland, Lithuania, Hungary. This is how he explained the pasuk Vayhi b'nsoa ha'aron, until finally, when Mashiach comes, it will be back. One of the Talmidim of Rav Chaim Volozhiner, the Nachlas David. The Nachlas David was present, and as he heard Rav Chaim saying what he did, he asked, Rebbe, does that mean that the Torah must also reach America? Now we're talking about, this story took place at least 200 years ago, because Rav Chaim Volozhiner was Nifter 1821. So we're talking about, like I said, at least 200 years ago. America at that time was nothing. It was a mamash shmama. There was nothing there. No communities, no infrastructure, no education, no yeshivas, nothing. Anyone that went to America, he was jumping off the deep end of his yahadus. Rav Chaim's response was, yes, the Torah must even reach America. And he began to cry uncontrollably. After Havdalah, that Matzai Shabbos, Rav Rebbitzen Volozhiner, the son of Rav Chaim, and that's who I later told over the story, he asked his father, why did he cry so profusely? And Rav Chaim answered him, don't you understand that in order for the Torah to be planted in America, there will be terrible suffering and hardship involved? Who knows how many will have the fortitude and courage for this self-sacrifice and suffering? We know in hindsight, the Torah transplanting to America was no easy feat. Did he have the Shoah in mind? Who knows? When people in America first came, the Jews that came, there was great Mesiras Nefesh just to keep Shabbos and to keep their children from. There were great Talmidei Chachamim who their children went off the derech, we would say today. They became not from, because America was a wasteland. There's a story about the Beis Halevi. The story goes that somebody came to go and tell him this was the Beis Halevi. The Beis Halevi was Nifter the end of the 18th century. So somebody came and wanted to say goodbye because he was going to America. So the Beis Halevi heard what he had come for. He came for a bracha. The Beis Halevi kept him waiting in his house, whatever the waiting room was, before he came in to the Beis Halevi, for a few hours, until finally he called him in because there was a girl that had just left with a shaila of a chicken in her hand. The shaila, he had the girl wait there, and he came and he asked the bacher that was going to America to come and look at the chicken. He showed him that it was treif because there was a needle in the breathing passageway. So it was treif. What was the reason why he had him wait all that time? He said, look, do you know how this happened? He said, because the chicken eats from the garbage. He said, you're going to America. There's a lot of garbage there. Don't be like a chicken who just eats without thinking. Watch what you're doing. The story was told over by an elderly man in Chicago to someone in the family. This person was still Shomer Shabbos, a very elderly man, so I guess he did heed the words of the Beis HaLevi. But let's get back to our Parsha, Vihehi B'Nes'a Ha'aron. The Torah, with great Mesiras Nefesh, took root in America until we can see where it is today. This reminded me of the words also of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov speaks about 3 categories of Golus. There is the category of Yisrael bein Hagoyim, a Golus. Am Yisrael, exiled among non-Jews. He says there's a second category, which is Talmidei Chachamim bein Amei Haaretz. People that learn Torah, exiled or in a situation where they confront people that are Amei Haaretz that have no inkling of what Torah is about. And then he says there's a third Golus, which is Lomdei HaTorah Lishma bein Lomdei Torah Shaloi Lishma. So that's something interesting. It's like the Aron Bris Hashem has a route to take. America is on that map, but the journey of the Torah, we can say, based on the Baal Shem Tov, it's not only geographic. The Torah must also journey through the collective neshama of Am Yisrael. And when we look at the generations progress and the development of the Torah, it's true that all of these nisyonos are simultaneous. That means that we can be grappling on all 3 fronts. But also in general, you can see that there's development of the Torah. Like I would say in the time of my grandparents and my parents, Yisrael bein Umos HaOlam was really, really very, very blatant. They came and they were fighting and being Moser Nefesh for covering the hair and for keeping Shabbos and for Jewish education. But that was in their generation. And then came my generation. I think I can say that the very sharp nisayon and golus of Am Yisrael then was Talmidei Chachamim bein Amei Haaretz. We were talking, the discussion in my high school was, who are you going to marry, a working boy or a learning boy? It was a question, maybe it's still a question today. But then it was really, really a strong question because people had to really be Moser Nefesh to decide that they were going to set aside their lives and sacrifice and build a life that's Moser Nefesh for Torah. It was a discussion and it wasn't Muvan Me'elav. Yeah. But we have to say it was not less of an intense struggle than the door before. Like Rabbi Akiva says that when I was in Am Haaretz, I would say, who can give me a Talmid Chacham and I'll bite him like a donkey? Meaning there was a lot of antagonism and misunderstanding and ignorance when it came to relating to Torah and what it was all about. But Vihehi B'Nes'a Ha'aron, the journey didn't stop there. It continued, and it continues to develop in all sorts of ways and directions until we have what we have today. And it's fascinating to see. There's no time in history with so many people sitting and learning Torah, so many yeshivas, so many kailalim. But we also know that Am Yisrael is in a big Eisora today. And one of the things that are really up on the forefront is a question of learning Torah in America, in Eretz Yisrael. Everybody knows what I'm referring to. What are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to react? I understand that a few days ago in America they had a huge show for Adirei HaTorah, the support for the Olam HaTorah. And I think that's amazing That's really amazing. And at the same time, I ask, we always look inward when we are faced with an Eist Tzara. What is Hashem asking from us? What is the message here? Maybe the message has to do with what we said, Baal Shem Tov, Talmidei Chachamim Loimdei HaTorah Lishma versus in Golos amongst Elu Shalo Lishma. When Torah has become a social norm, Chas v'shalom, the Kotzker said, people can turn a Torah into an Avodah Zarah. How can we check ourselves that the Torah that we're learning, that our husbands are learning, that our children are learning, is Torah Lishma, and not Chas v'shalom, Torah Shaloi Lishma, when it's such a social norm to be sitting and learning? So, I quote here Rav Aaron Soloveichik, who always spoke about Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. And I'll show a few manifestations of this. Torah has to be with chesed. The Navi Yirmiyahu says, Ki im ba'ele chafatzti, ki ani Hashem oiseh chesed, mishpat utzdaka ba'aretz, ki ba'ele chafatztinu Hashem. Are we clean and are we constantly on guard with the chesed, mishpat utzdaka ba'aretz, with our learning, with the learning, and not self-aggrandizement? Is the Torah a Torah of tznius, v'litznuim chachma, and not ostentation? Is a Torah with simplicity, pas b'melech teichal, v'ala aretz tishan, translating it into our lives today, and not with indulgence, and not with, and this is a really important word to emphasize, exclusiveness. Torah with exclusiveness, we said the Maharal says, when there's exclusiveness, it's malbin pnei chaveroi berabim. We're not supposed to go and make a big deal about people that excel, because everyone is supposed to do their part in learning Torah, and everyone has a part in Torah. People should be in competition with themselves to see if they can outdo what they achieved yesterday. Torah with achdus, and not fragmentation and politics and power games. Torah with tranquility and ahavas Yisrael, k'mei hashiloach ha'holchim la'at, the Navi says, and not jealousy and competition and anger. Torah with taharas hanefesh, tikkun hamidos, and not chas v'shalom gaiva. Torah lishma, it's something else completely. Torah lishma is acquired through great frustration. The Medrash Tanchuma says that kafa alehem har kegiyas. Where was their resistance in Matan Torah? The resistance was to sitting and harving of Iyun, Gemara Be'iyun, Torah Shabal Peh. And that's only acquired through sleepless nights, the Medrash says, through sweat and toil. The Laimei Torah Lishma is completely consumed with truly understanding the Sugya, the Divrei Elokim Chaim. His mind is far, far away from thoughts of cash-in, limelight, partying, and fanfare. This is what the Rambam says when there is an Eist Tzara. We're supposed to check before blaming all the people and circumstances around and say they're coming to berodef us. We have to see what message is Hashem sending us. ויהי בנסע הארון. Klal Yisrael continues the journey together with the Torah all over the entire globe and through our entire soul. So I'll just finish with the tefillah that Vayihi b'nes'a Aaron, Kuma Hashem v'yafutzu oivecha v'yanusu misanecha mipanecha. That all the oivim, there's the oiv from without and there's an oyev from within. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us a siyata d'shmaya to stand up to the oyev, all kinds of galus, to stand up, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should put an end to all the galuyos, the tikkunim, and the tsaros. And we should be zocha that the Torah should come to its place. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Hashem miYerushalayim. A good Erev Shabbos, Kol Tuv.